Hello, welcome back to Madrona's Pulse Teachings. I hope that this finds you doing well. I'm going to chat with you about our Leo full moon, which is happening on February 12th. I do just want to make a little announcement before that, though, because I have launched information about my Evolutionary and Embodied Astrology program, which I'm so excited for. It's starting in September. And there is one thing that being an educator has taught me, and is that when one person or a few people have a question, there are many with that in the room. And in this case, it's a digital scape out there with all of you. And so I did just want to say, because I've gotten a number of emails, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for folks that are in a time zone that it just doesn't align, because you're not getting up in the middle of the night to come to Evolutionary Embodied Astrology live class. The classes are going to be Thursdays from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And that is the only time that I have that I can commit to for the 6 or so months that we're doing this. So I apologize that I can't change the time. That said, I am, as part of the program, going to have a live kind of open office hour Zoom. That's going to be once a month, and that will always be on a weekend at around 11 a.m. Eastern time. So that is something, if you did choose to do it, where you're kind of learning from the recordings, you will have some opportunity for live engagement. That said, I know it's not the same, and everyone has their own learning styles. But thank you to folks who have kind of reached out to me and asked about questions, and it's linked below if you're curious about it. And oh my gosh, I can't wait. So now we will talk about the Leo full moon. So starting with the base layers, because there is a lot going on. There's a lot of energy as we come into this full moon, and I'm putting this up. The full moon is again on the 12th. So we're already being pulled into this energy. And this is a full moon that is square the planet Uranus. And we have the sun in Aquarius. Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. So there is a lot of energy with this full moon. But let's start at the base layer. Astrology is all about understanding the way that layers are talking with each other. So we have the sun at around 24 degrees of Aquarius opposite the moon at 24 degrees of Leo. And so a full moon is always about illumination. It is about something in this kind of lunar cycle coming in that was seeded in the new moon and emerging into this illumination. And so we come into that illumination in the sign of Leo. Leo is fire energy. It is about our joy. It is about our creative impulses and desires and our ability to enact them as a creative self. Okay, so there is something about our creative, authentic self coming into illumination. Now, there's a lot of layers around that too. So there is actually quite a bit of energy in Aquarius around our sun. I'm going to put the chart up just so that you can see this kind of cosmic conversation. We have got the sun there at 24 degrees. Then we have the sun conjunct Ceres, dwarf planet Ceres, who's the Earth Mother, also conjunct Mercury, and we also have Chariklo, asteroid Chariklo, who's at 18 degrees. Okay, so there's a lot of energy there in Aquarius. So yes, this is a Leo full moon. Yes, there is illumination around that kind of creative joy in our life. And wherever you have 24 degrees of Leo, that's going to even take you deeper into knowing how this is speaking with you. But if you don't work with your chart, you just listen to whatever resonates with you. And then we have all this Aquarius energy. Okay, so again, we're in Aquarius season. That's where our sun is. But the sun is firstly very closely conjunct Ceres, who is the Earth Mother, who teaches us about what is truly nurturing for us. Nurturing in Aquarius in a way that is coming into our higher mind self, into principles that are way beyond any kind of lower desires of the ego. This is wanting to be a nourishment that really sustains us and the evolution of humanity. And Aquarius is this paradoxical energy that is always about us on a very kind of call to radical authenticity that is simultaneously about the way that our own call is connected to something so much bigger than us. And so we want to be paying attention to those kind of inner calls coming, to the synchronicities of life. Sometimes they come from something in the algorithm. Sometimes they come from just seeing that sign and the symbol, dreams, but really paying attention to the algorithms. That was nice. Really paying attention to the synchronicities that are speaking to us, and the way that they are speaking of something that is nurturing to our authentic self as it connects to that joyful creative energy within us. Also, Mercury is here. There may be information coming that on the first layer, on the path of self-inquiry, which is the first layer that I work with using evolutionary astrology as a modality for healing and thriving, there may be a lot of insights coming, okay, during this full moon, leading up to this full moon, the few days after this full moon. And they also might be unexpected because this energy is squaring Uranus, okay? And so Uranus, especially because Uranus is now direct, Uranus is in Taurus, it is in this journey of radical, authentic embodiment, the way that wants to root us into our lives in new ways, and then that wants to go into the collective, into radical sustainability, what that could look like for ourselves. Again, that's going to be about our whole self, rooted through our body, embodied consciousness, awakening. This is absolutely energy of awakening. It's a lot of energy, but Uranus square the full moon. Uranus is wildcard energy. Uranus is awakening energy, and Uranus is radical. Okay, and it also can be sudden shifts. So it's talking to Mercury, it's talking to Ceres, it's talking to the sun, it's talking to the moon, and it's also talking to Cheroklo, who I will mention in a moment. And so this is energy that changes things. This is a changing of the status quo. So again, in our own kind of self-inquiry journeys, there might be sudden insights, there might be information, there might be changes in societal realms, in realms that we're part of in our communities, that then have a significant impact and information for us. Now, this wants to be awakening our creative self. This wants to be that creative self in alignment with our authentic self, okay? Part of the Leo journey is learning not to perform for what society teaches us, not to perform for what the media says a woman, a person, a man, non-binary, whatever we are, who we are, is supposed to be. Leo wants to feel creative source energy pulsing through it and just create with it. And it wants to be aligned with our authentic radical self in a way that is nurturing, in a way that also might have us coming into new understandings of ourself, of our path. And it might be really unexpected. It also might be what we've been working for, and now circumstances just emerge and we're ready to see something. And or we might think that we're going this way and the full moon comes and we are going this way. And Uranus does that. It changes our path. But if we thought we were going this way and now we're going this way, there is something there to kind of drop into, especially through whether it's a creative practice, meditation, but those kind of grounding practices that help us to open up and listen. And Cheroklo is here as well. There is also something potentially healing about this, okay? So even if it doesn't feel so healing, even if we are getting redirected, even if in the collective there is kind of information coming to light that we weren't expecting, there is also the archetype of, you know, especially in Aquarius, there's kind of this divination energy coming through that can also be really helpful to healing, to other realms coming through that bring grace in. And so there's a lovely energy here. It also is Uranian. In ultimately, whatever Uranus brings up, it wants to awaken our authentic self. It wants us to see through what we've been conditioned by fear, what we've been conditioned by performing, what we've been taught through the media about how we're supposed to be. And this is letting that go. This is breaking with status quo. This is coming into this pulsing energy that just fills us up with desire and love and creativity, and it might feel a little bit radical. And so if it feels radical to you, if you're feeling that calling, this might be moments to kind of check in. Remember, anytime that we have strong Uranian Aquarius energy right now, it's very significant because we are in the beginnings of the Pluto and Aquarius age. And so this is also, of course, aligned to deep soul transformations that we are all on. And our natal chart is going to speak to us about how it's talking with the transit chart, so that we can understand that in a very personal way. But there's big energy here, and there is awakening energy here. And so it also can be a lot to stimulate the nervous system. Okay, so this might be a time during this full moon. Full moon itself is a lot of energy, but there is a lot of Aquarius. There's Uranus squaring the sun and the moon. So we do want to ground. We want to ground into those practices that calm the nervous system. Whatever your go-to is, you want to know that the nervous system might be kind of very stimulated as we're moving through these next few days. So whatever kind of helps you to ground, you just want to be kind of playing into that. Also, Uranus does ask a lot of us. It gives us a lightning bolt. It asks us to integrate. This can be those sudden seeds that are coming into illumination of kind of where we might be heading, of what our path is taking us to. And they seed in. And then we have to do all the work. That is the work of integrating the awakening insight. Okay, so as much as we use that word awakening with Aquarius, with Uranus, it brings a lot of work into our lives, because to stay on the awakened path, well, that takes a lot of work. Okay, so also knowing that this is about some illumination coming, and then we start moving with it. And it might be unexpected. It might be wild card. It might be wonderful. It might not feel so wonderful. We really do want to work to not work with those categories of good and bad, the binary of either or. It can be very limiting, especially when the outer planets are involved. The outer planets transcend those categories of perspective because they are about something so much bigger. And this energy is about something so much bigger. Also, part of this is the full moon is not only squaring Uranus, it is also squaring Juno, who is at 28 degrees of Scorpio. So that also roots us in to our witchy integrity, alchemizing self. Okay, it roots us into really bringing integrity into the core of ourself, how we show up with ourselves and in all of our intimate relationships. Juno talking to this, she grounds us in what's real. She grounds us in, Scorpio is what's real. Scorpio is what is under the surface. Scorpio is the no BS sign of the zodiac. It also does not want to work with categories of good or bad. Scorpio wants to see what's here. It wants to get into it. It wants to transform and find the creative pulse within all that raw material of the emotions and the psyche. And it wants to just shed its skin and create something new. And Juno doing that is her discovering a whole part of herself that she didn't even know that she had. And she's coming to the end of her Scorpio journey here. So she is really coming into her fullness here, and she's squaring this full moon. So we have quite a bit of divine feminine energy here. We have Chariklo, we have Juno, we have Ceres. Ceres is conjunct the sun. So there is also that awakening goddess energy. And that has very little to do with the patriarchal structures that influence almost all of Western society. It is a turning of the gaze. It is a shifting of direction. It is taking everything that we've been fed that comes from power over structures and doing the work of eradicating it in this little cycle, which is part of a much bigger cycle, because Pluto through Aquarius is all about that eradication of power over structures. Okay, so there's a lot here with this full moon, and always also sinking in to, it is Leo. Where is my joy? Where is my creative joy? Even when something is seeming totally unexpected, even when we are moving through individual and collective grief, we still have Leo. And Leo's kind of magic is that it can create joy out of difficult situations. And so allowing that to transpire for yourselves as well. The only other thing I want to mention is that also during this full moon, Saturn is in a trine with Mars retrograde. Okay, so Mars retrograde is at 17 degrees of Cancer, while Saturn is in Pisces at 18 degrees, and they are in this water trine. Okay, and so that Mars, we're going to come towards the end of February. Mars is going to station retrograde, and then Venus is going to station, Mars is going to station direct, and then Venus is going to station into her retrograde. But Mars is still in its retrograde, and it is in this trine with Saturn in Pisces. And so this is really lovely for that Mars. This is this moment of that Mars kind of clicking a few things into place about what we've been relearning, unlearning about divine masculine energy, really letting go toxic masculinity, the way that that is taught to us in so many different iterations through media and our lives and relationships, the way that we are taught regardless of our gender to internalize it into our very sense of purpose and drive. That is what this Mars retrograde is wanting to unlearn, so that it can actually kind of bring this yin Cancerian energy and teach our Mars about what true love and care and self-love and care is, and the way that then goes out into who we're in the relationship with, how we enter into care with others. And that trines the Saturn, who's direct in Pisces, going on a journey. That Saturn's going on a journey. And there's something about kind of rooting into the spiritual lessons that are coming through this Mars retrograde that we can really access during this time, okay, during this kind of potent full moon. And of course, we also have this full moon happening while Neptune is still conjunct the North Node in Pisces. So there is this strong Piscean energy. And that Neptune North Node conjunction is a lot of energy. You know, on the one hand, yes, it does bring in this opening to beautiful mystical experiences, to the other realms, but it's also a lot, and it can be a bit foggy, it can be a bit exhausting, it can ask a lot of us, especially when we still have to show up for work and all these other kind of daily tasks. It wants to speak in dream and symbol, and that energy is kind of this strong chorus that is seeing us through this period right now into February, through February. And so just knowing that that's here, so we're also respecting the body and its needs as much as we can, okay? As we journey through this awakening, radical energy. Radical for Uranus is always about authenticity and always teaching us more and more about where we've been afraid to honor our authentic self. And this full moon wants to bring it into illumination with our joy, and also, of course, all of that Aquarius energy. And on that note, I send you off into the full moon, and I will see you soon. Be well. Bye-bye.